I must break you.
Come get it!
It's time, Michael.
I will do what I must.
You will try.
Final round.
You're going down.
Oh, no way.
There we go.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening.
What's going on, guys and gals, and welcome to Good Reel Hunting, where we hunt for the good reels so you don't have to. It's your boy Brad. BrettMan's right over here, and we have an awesome freaking filthy ass special guest here with us tonight. Filthy Dan right down here. How are you guys doing today?
Not too bad. Staying filthy in the fortress here. How are you guys?
I could be just. I'm more happier than a Chiefs fan in the Super Bowl.
Golly. Well, what we are doing today
Gotta take my shots in.
We're doing. It's time for Slash It Out once again. For the very first time, I think, Brett, correct me if I'm wrong. For the first time, we're doing the first Slash It Out that does not involve the big three franchises whatsoever. And today we are doing The Omen from 1976 versus The Exorcist from 1973. The two freaking demon child franchises of the 70s. Classic freaking Oscar-winning flicks here, at least in that territory. At least in that category, if you will. And we're jacked to get into it, man. It's gonna be fun. Filthy Dan picked these movies out. He's gonna be our special guest moderator, and it should be a great time.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is, of course, I've seen The Exorcist so many times, but the movie that I will be defending today is The Omen, which I gave that my first watch recently. And you're going to hear my thoughts about that movie as we have our friendly debate to happen. So, without further ado, before we give the keys to the kingdom, the filthy one, I say let's go to our tell the tape real quick.
Let's look at it.
Yeah, they're going.
Yes.
All right.
So, Brad, what are your first thoughts on the tell of the tape?
Well, the first thing that kind of jumps out to me is the I figured The Exorcist would have a higher tomato score here than The Omen, but it doesn't. I don't know how many people reviewed it. I would imagine both of them have plenty of reviews, but I think it's interesting that The Omen's actually got a higher score from the critics here. Of course, the budget of The Exorcist is way over The Omen, but as is the box office. I think it's great, man. These are very well. These are very well known films, and both of them are freaking fantastic. So it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan, what's something that you notice about this tale the tape that just stands out to you?
Just like Brad brought up, the budgets. I was expecting The Omen would have had a little bit higher budget, just given the extravagant shooting locations that they used, or semi-extravagant. Excuse me. Also, the box office returns are a little not what I was expecting, but it's really the Rotten Tomatoes score. Like Brad brought up. I can't help but notice how the critics and audiences are tilted in either direction on both films.
Yeah. And I noticed that too, like with the Rotten Tomatoes score. I'm like, oh, that is a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. I thought the Omen really was going to be in somewhere around the 70s, not in the 80s. So very good props to people out there for being fans of this original classic of The Omen. But the box office, not surprised at all, like the difference between the two, because The Exorcist, which I'm sure Brad will point out, just really changed the game of the horror genre. And of course, our filming locations, like they both take place in houses. Both of them, I know I forgot to put in The Exorcist, but both went into different parts of the world in there too. So again, this is going to be a very fun matchup.
Yeah, and I will point out, I don't know how accurate this is, but I assume it is. I was doing a little bit of digging on some behind the scenes stuff with The Exorcist, and I can't remember what I saw. Probably IMDb or something like that, or I don't know, Wikipedia. I don't know. But either way, adjusted for inflation, this is the highest grossing Warner Brothers film of all time. The Exorcist is, and I think it said if you were to adjust for inflation as well, it would be the highest rated or highest box office. I don't know if I said that right the first time, but the highest. It racked in the most money for any Warner Brothers movie for inflation. Same for rated R movies as well. If you were to adjust for inflation, is what I saw. Again, I don't know how accurate that is, but I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I actually heard too that the kind of like the popularity, like in PC, also risen up during this time either.
Oh, absolutely, dude.
No, I'm just kidding. That's not a true fact. I just thrown that in. So, yeah, that is our tale of the tape. So now, Filthy Dan, it is your show now.
All right.
Take it away.
All right. So let's start with some softball questions here for you guys. Tell me why your film is the scarier film out of the two.
Okay. Who do you want to go first?
We'll let Brad go with The Exorcist real quick, being how it's called the scariest film of all time, and we'll see if The Omen can pull that nice, healthy underdog route.
Sure. I think ultimately it comes down to the way it's built up. Okay, first off, you get great character development in this movie. By the time the shit actually starts to hit the fan later in the movie, you actually really care for these characters. You start off slow. Yeah, it's a slow burn. So you get to see Regan kind of living her normal thing, her normal life and whatnot. You see freaking Father. You see dang
Karras.
Father Marin, sorry, in Iraq early, seeing Pazuzu. You see him over in Iraq digging around, and he has the early confrontation with the statue of Pazuzu, just kind of representing that good versus evil, and and how that's an eternal kind of fight. Like it's not going away. It's never going away. It's always been there. It's always going to be there. Just seeing that and seeing the way that Pazuzu freaking shakes Father Marin down to his core, essentially. All that stuff's great. The build-up's fantastic. And again, all the stuff that goes on with Pazuzu or Captain Howdy, whatever you want to call him, it's all theater of the mind stuff. Like you see the Ouija board down in the basement at one point. You don't ever actually see Regan using it. Like you just kind of wonder. I mean, I guess there's that one little scene like really quick, but you always kind of wonder what she's actually doing with that thing and how those things are progressing and how Captain Howdy is presenting himself to her and all that stuff. You don't see it. You're seeing it in your mind, I guess, which I think is great. And then once the stuff actually starts hitting the fan, and Regan gets possessed, and again, even that's slow. It starts off, she just walks down there. You're going to freaking die up there, and she pees herself, and all that stuff. It gets in your head, man. And then once the actual crazy shit starts happening up in the bedroom, man, you're like, holy shit, man. It crosses lines you never would have thought about crossing in the 70s, man. With the crucifix scene and the head spin and all that stuff, man. That's if in 1973, you kidding me, dude? You've never seen anything like that. Really the effects still hold up today, and yeah, it's just freaking terrifying, man.
Well played, good sir. Well played. But here's the big difference. Linda got possessed by playing with that damn Ouija board. Playing with a Ouija board is never a good idea. Like, she got possessed, but she was always good before she got possessed. But what about my child, Damien? He was born of pure evil right from the get-go. To me, that's more scarier because, like, that's something you couldn't control. While Linda, she could have controlled it if she weren't have to play with that Ouija board. And just like just the influence of like the aura of evil that surrounds Damien, that just around, like, he made his own damn nanny hang herself. Like, that's scary. Like, he didn't tell her to do it. He just looked at her and bam. bad shit goes down, and then like all the animals freak out. Like just again, his presence is what's scary to me, and just like and the child's actor's name is Harvey Stevens. Just like his staring, like his facial expressions, just really sells the character and just sells of how damn scary. Because like I can actually see a child in real life look just like him, and I just get that scary feel atmosphere, a comfortable atmosphere throughout the entire run of the movie. So that's why I really feel like The Omen is just much scarier than The Exorcist.
Yeah, I think just to refute that statement, I think well, obviously Damien is the son of the devil himself, right? So like he's brought in via it's basically written in the poem they're talking about throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is all a carefully articulated freaking thing here where he
it's like a big ritual that they were trying to pull off. That's what
essentially,
how I
yeah.
had to deal with it.
Which is scary in of itself, but the and then Holly's hanging out there with the freaking the nanny Holly. She starts hanging out after she gets freaking actually I think it was the hellhound that really freaking put her over the edge there, the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Which was cool. That was scary. That was one of the scariest parts of the movie. That was great. I'll give you full credit there. Especially the way it's done, where you can kind of hear her yelling at Damien before you see what's going on and all that. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think it ultimately comes down to characters. I wasn't as invested in these characters in The Omen like your boy freaking Mr. Robert Thorne. I wasn't terribly invested in him. I was more invested in Regan and stuff. So when stuff actually starts to happen, I care more, which means ultimately I'm more scared. I'm more terrified.
Yeah, but of course you're going to care more for a child than you are going to be an actual adult. But what's special about Robert's character, because he was a big skeptic of like not believing in the devil and like being a big religious person. But by the end of the movie, he was definitely a believer of that.
Sure.
If I may interject too, gentlemen.
You're allowed to interject anytime you want.
I hate to be like I'm saying yes to a side, but one thing I think particularly in The Omen that really makes that all the more terrifying is simply the fact that Mr. Thorne is a very high-ranking political figure.
Mm-hmm. An ambassador.
With his son Damien being what he is, that I think kind of does add a little bit of potential scare value to The Omen.
Yeah, because like he's going to use his power on the world because of all the resources that he gets inherited. So that's why the plan of Damien and to take over, super scary.
Well, that's an interesting point, and it's actually kind of common for both of these movies. I mean, I think Robert's a little bit more powerful, but freaking both of them prove, I mean, money and fame and power, I mean, it doesn't protect you against these things, against evil, because in The Exorcist, Chris is an actor, you know, she's well known, she's well renowned, she's got money, and she's also, I mean, she's not just some random, you know, Looney Tune on the side of the street. Like, she's got some things going for her too, yet evil still finds them, and I think that's interesting for both movies, which is kind of cool. I think it's something you wouldn't really expect, and it's still something, I don't know, you don't really see a lot of that in these possession movies, where you have somebody, you know, either famous or powerful or whatever the case may be, and they're the ones being impacted. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I'll quickly before I feel like Dan's going to get into his next question. The thing I give for both movies huge credit for, they toy with the whole element of religion, and religion is a scary thing in this world today. Like, whether you believe in it, is it right, is it wrong? But this one is just telling you, oh, this is the evil side of religion, and that is just, to me, one of the scariest things of today's society.
Yeah.
For sure. Good points, gentlemen. Good points. And the last thing you said there too, Brett, I was going to save this question for later, but since you brought the point up, it's I subtitled it the hot button question.
Ooh.
Okay.
Which film plays on its religious theme more effectively?
Oh, Man, good question. I gotta say mine, just because again, Damien was just again born out of pure evil, while Linda just got possessed. To me, those are two bigger things, because with the Linda thing, you could have controlled that possession by not messing with the Ouija board and all that. But with Damien, there's no running, there's no hiding. That's just a bad coincidence that family got affected the way they did, and just like the whole rituals of how Damien came to be. To me, that's just way more scarier, like on the religious side of it.
I disagree. I think The Exorcist has this one all day. I think this one's easy. I mean, first off, when you start off with the Omen, the dang father, whatever his name is, Oculus or whatever, he gave the freaking baby.
Spilletero?
No, the other one. Yes, yeah, no, you're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the crazy one.
He gave the damn baby to the freaking to Robert, man, and at the beginning of the movie, and then it's got some other elements which are great. And Father Brennan showing up, the crazy guy. He was cool, but like he was also crazy. I know they mentioned later in the movie he was high on meth all the time and he had cancer, but like I don't know. I don't know. I think that the elements though of religion though, harkening back to the Exorcist, beginning of the Exorcist, you got Father Merrin over there in Iraq. Again, from the beginning of this movie, it's showing good versus evil has always been there, and I know I mentioned that earlier. You get that freaking awesome shot after he finds the little idol in the excavation site, and he's over there looking at the statue of Pazuzu, and they're facing off, man, and you can already see the evil of Pazuzu influencing these two dogs over here, which is freaking awesome, man. But then like you get introduced to Father Karras and like his conflict and his issues he's having with his faith and everything like that, and he's kind of losing his faith a little bit, and I could just it's just such an important part of his character, his faith is, and obviously you have several members of the church. You have to prove the exorcism and all that to the church. All that is just part of it. But I just think, man, with the way it starts out with religion, like it's showing multiple sides of Father Merrin. Like he's also not only is he a faith guy, but he's a science guy too, right? He's out there.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know. It starts off heavy with that, and then towards the end, you see Father Karras getting his faith back and completing the thing, and then obviously sacrificing himself there at the end. But I think this one definitely it covers religion stuff good, man, very well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought it up too, because like again, Robert, he wasn't the biggest believer of the religious side too, but again, he got made into a believer too, and like not just like your typical like, oh, I'm going to go to church and just read up about this religion, but no, he was like feared into this learning of this dark side of religion too, and just learning the evil before you learn the good is like, to me, like really scary, like just scary process on that. And it was so scary to him that he is willing to kill this child, because personally he didn't want to do it, but he knew he had to do it based off the religious side of things.
Yeah, I like one other thing I kind of forgot to mention was oh man, it's already slipped my mind again. But one thing, I just love the way that seeing Pazuzu, the reaction you get off of Father Merrin there at the beginning. It's awesome, man. But there was something I wanted to mention about Father Karras. If you have anything else to say, I'm going to try to think about it here for a second. But
no, that was my closing argument on this.
Yeah, I guess it's gone. Maybe it'll come back later.
No, you're good.
All right.
Oh.
Oh.
No, it was there for a second. Yeah. So this whole thing, yeah, once Regan starts getting possessed too, you have this whole thing where all the doctors and even Father Karras to an extent is trying to tell Chris that no, this is a science thing. She's sick. It's a physical, it's not religious at all. And she's convinced, dude, that it's more so than that. She's going out of her way to try to get an exorcism done after she sees how crazy shit's getting in the bedroom. And I just thought that was kind of an interesting element where everybody, even the priest, is like, no, she's sick, dude. Like, you need a doctor. You don't need a priest, and all that stuff. It develops for some time in the movie, and I always thought that was a good part.
Good arguments there, gentlemen. Yeah, you both put up a really good defense on that one. Let's see. Thinking both films were shot fairly is not even the right word. Both films were shot incredibly well. Tell me why your film has the better cinematography.
Oh man, just the shots of like when they go to Rome and trying to figure out that whole mystery behind like the origins of Damien and that ritual, like just that graveyard scene, immediately makes you feel extremely uncomfortable. Like just the tone, just that first shot of like the whole graveyard site, just immediately set the tone of like this is not a safe place. And to me, if you can do that just by just like a wide shot of everything, you've already nailed the cinematography out perfectly on that. Yeah, it's just the house and just sets the tempo of like this is a rich family and like so they have everything and they can get everything. And then you realize what like just within the house, pure evil's there. And the cinematography just really does a great job, kind of like representing like the rich on how they live on the outside. But once you go inside, they automatically just really state of how like not as good as things seem just because of that little bastard named Damien.
I think both films were shot incredibly well, like you said, Dan. I think for me, for The Exorcist, it really comes down to the atmosphere that is derived from the way it's shot. I know I've already mentioned it, but the shot at the beginning with the statue and the dogs and all that in Iraq, I thought that was freaking amazing.
You love that whole first scene of Iraq, don't you?
Well, I keep coming back to this moment because it's awesome. That shot of good versus evil, man, with the shadows and the lighting, it's fantastic. And then that shot, the reason I brought it back up, again, later when they're doing the exorcism, it's recreated when you see Pazuzu and then Father Marin there in the light. And I thought that was really well done. But you also have some great atmosphere shots, like where Father Karras is out there running around the track and you can see like his breath and you can see how cold it is. Like, it's just like, it just makes you feel cold, man. And like, and then later when they're doing the exorcism, when everybody's breath's freaking popping up, it's awesome. And then not necessarily getting into the effects at this point, but every time you go into that freaking Regan's room, the way it's lit through the window and everything, like it's just so eerie and creepy, man. Like every time the camera takes us up to that room, you're like, oh shit, what's about to happen when we open this door? What are we stepping into? And it's kind of, I mean, it's a testament to the way they shot the interior of that. And yeah, I love the feel of that. Obviously you have great shots with the stairwell leading up to their apartment there and everything, to their house. All that stuff's iconic, and it's just, yeah, I mean, it's fantastic when it comes. And you have all kinds of great shots of the statues in the church and stuff like that. Awesome, eerie stuff, man. It's all about atmosphere.
Yeah, and I was really wanting to save this little trick up my sleeve of like not trying to give away the scariest scene, but it's just a great cinematography shot. So it would be a shame if I didn't mention it in this section. But when Kathy's trying to leave the hospital, just because Robert's telling her like, you got to get out of there, you're in danger, you got to get out, and then that's when that stupid the new nanny comes in. And just where they do that big, like the whole shadow, like the whole room is dark with her presence there. And the shot of her just staring like at Kathy's soul, like right through her too. And that's to me, like gave me immediate chill bumps. And that was just a beautifully shot scene.
Yeah, that was great. I like too, though. I don't know if this should really be included here or not, but what the hell? Yeah, I'm sure it'll come back up later. I'm going to hold off, but you're right. you're right. We'll talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I wanted to save it, but it was such a beautiful cinematography shot. I had to mention it right now.
It absolutely is, dude. It is, and yeah, you get some great shots during the exorcism and stuff, but we're gonna get into all that, I'm sure. So I'll save it for now, and I think both of these are great when it comes to cinematography.
That they are. So I was gonna ask about atmosphere, but you guys kind of you guys did touch on that a little bit, but if you excuse me, if you feel you could elaborate more on some of the winning elements of either film's atmosphere, that would be awesome. If not, we could go on to another line of questioning.
Just kind of like I'm explaining atmosphere more.
Yeah, I just wrote winning atmosphere. See, because I know, like in The Exorcist, you get a lot of that. You can see some of the breath in the air when it gets cold. Like, I know Brad did pretty good at really going into some of the atmosphere. Could you bring why some of that? Damn, I'm stumbling on my words here. Like the feeling of you're almost there. Like, does that make sense? Like you're watching it and there's something about everything that's going on screen you feel in a way that you are.
Oh, if I like you're there.
Yeah.
Okay, there's like one thing. Yeah, there's like one thing I thought I was there. Was kind of like towards the end of the movie where Robert was going to confront Damien, and just like the way they shot that camera, kind of like it made you like you are in Robert's shoes, and just kind of like accepting the room, accepting the situation, and just you're not safe. Like that's what I felt like they did an excellent job with that thing, just to make you feel like not comfortable and that you are not safe and you don't know what the hell's going to happen. Because you got rid of your first thread, which is the dog, but like he's just like okay, I'm safe and we're good to go, and all hell breaks loose, and just atmosphere really plays a factor into that. Like if you set up the atmosphere, you're easily going to set up the scare.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, most of the atmosphere stuff I kind of mentioned already. Again, the scene outside with Father Karras where he meets the detective for the first time, I think is fantastic because it just kind of puts you in that. It puts you out there with them, man, out there in the cold, and yeah, I mean, you get some great moments with Karras just like that, and during the exorcism, you can really feel how cold it is in there too. And I already mentioned that, so I won't go back into it. But yeah, I mean, I think it's got phenomenal atmosphere, man, for sure, from start to finish. All right,
that was a good line there. Good line there. Yeah. Which one do you think had the better acting?
Well, again, I will have to say mine, just because, like, just again the transition to make Robert like from this big fancy ambassador, not really heavy on the religious side, to turn him immediately to a believer. And his facial expressions are good, especially on the scene where he got that phone call where he lost Kathy, and just like you can immediately like feel his. Like he's just like in a bad place, like just really in pain, and you feel really sympathetic for him. Again, the Gregory Peck is his name, the guy that plays Robert. He did a really good job, like selling, just like being the father figure to this demon child. And if we're going to talk about which child dominated the acting, that's my boy, Harvey Stevens. And he didn't really have to, like, he was a child. He couldn't really say words, but he didn't have to say words. He used something that is really hard to teach, like for me in acting, and that's facial expressions. His facial expressions were spot on, where you knew, like, okay, this kid is bad news. And when he's happy, like, he gives you that false sense of security, like, oh, hey, this is a happy little boy, but bam. Just switches it to pure evil, and that's really hard to teach like any actor, like to make that smooth transition while you got this small little boy who just does it effortlessly. And some of the other characters are good. Like Kathy was a good mother. Like she just tries to be there for Damien for most of the time. And the father played a really great creepy priest, like the father. Like I don't really see a whole lot of like creepiness, like because fathers are supposed to make you feel safe, but no. Let me get his name real quick. Martin Benson did a really good job, just like selling you the characters. Like, okay, this father is very not right in the head, but again, he is trying to do the right thing. And the news reporter, let me
That
get
asshole from Titanic, dude.
Yeah, Keith. So played by David Warner. Yeah.
David Warner?
Yes.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that was
Remember
him.
Titanic,
And
dude?
Oh my god.
yeah, yeah, he did a good job too. Like, I hate the media. Like, I hate news reports and all that, and they immediately set it up where you're not supposed to like this guy. But like, continuing on with the movie and the story, you're actually rooting for him and actually supporting him. Like, because again, Robert didn't want to kill Damien, but the news report's like, nope, we got to do it. Like, it's the right thing to do. Like, you got to take all emotion out of it. And again, acting really sold that character too. So I thought all the characters in my movie did a really good job.
Dude, that guy lost his head on the situation, man. Like, it's like,
He did get ahead in life.
This one all day goes in the Exorcist favor here, man. You got Max von Sydow in here, Sydow, whatever you want to call him. He's in here. He's tearing it up from beginning to end. They put some makeup on his ass, make him look old, like he was in Force Awakens, but he wasn't actually old here. He tore it up, okay? And Regan, freaking Linda Blair, are you kidding me, dude? She smokes the water out of freaking this dude over here, Mr. Damien. Like, Damien was fine, but he didn't have he had like three lines.
I'm the upper direction, by the way.
Yeah, well, I was just talking about I got the Omen over here and I got the Exorcist over here. So I was talking about Damien, who's over here, and I'm like, dude, this little kid, he had like one line, and he's like, woohoo, when he's getting flipped around by Robert. I'm like, come on now. Regan, freaking from the beginning, she plays this sweet little girl perfectly. Oh, yeah, let's go, Captain Howdy. We're going to go tear it up. And then, like, at the, are you kidding me, dude? When she starts freaking getting possessed, and she's freaking batshit crazy, dude. Like, completely, and I know they used a different voice for all the actual dialogue, but you could, like, she's getting flipped around on her bed and shit. Like, she broke her back in real life. The mother, Chris, she looks freaking terrified when she goes in there. When she goes in there and Reagan's doing the crucifix thing, she is like, you can see the freaking fear in her eyes, man. Like, she is absolutely petrified. And she got hurt too. She had a hard time with everything. She got slapped around, all kinds of shit. I think at one point, Father Karras as well, freaking, he blew it out of the water as well. The whole storyline with his mother, like, you can see the despair in his face when he's like, he goes to see his mother in the nursing home, and like, he's like, oh man, I got to get her out of here. And then later, you know, she dies alone and is left there rotting, and like, you can see, you know, he's just freaking depressed, man. And you know, the detective was fine. He was good. He was a good little side character. And created some nice dialogue with Father Karras. But Max Vaughn, when he comes back, dude, he's like, again, I know I'll harpen back quickly to Iraq when he was there earlier. The way he's free, you see the reaction on his face when he sees Pazuzu. He's like, oh shit. It's like, and I think later we learned that he's got a history with Pazuzu. He's exorcised him before, but you can see that in his eyes when he's looking at it. Like, he's like, oh shit, this guy's coming back. The whole thing, man. And at one point, I think it was Father Karras, Friedkin or whatever shot a gun behind him to get a reaction out of him in the movie. Like, it just a genuine reaction. And I remember that being kind of a big thing. But either way, like, they went above and beyond to get genuine frightening reactions out of these guys. And it pays off. You can see fear in everybody's eyes by the time this thing's over. And you get that drunk asshole who falls out the window. He played a pretty good drunk too. But
and can I ask you a question, Bradley?
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and say this. Oh, Bradley, why you do this to me, Bradley? No, I'm just kidding. But no, how old was Linda Blair? when she shot that?
She was pretty young. She was in early teens, 13 maybe.
Yeah, she was-
Okay, and how old did you think Harley Stevens was when he shot his role?
That's irrelevant. We're comparing acting.
It is relevant because,
No,
like
we're
again, like you
comparing
said,
performances. We're comparing performances right here, and Linda Blair's was freaking one of the best child performances of all time.
Well, when talking about kid actors, though, I think age is a pretty relevant question because a kid's acting can make or break a film. And
exactly.
I will say real quick, I do say that Linda Blair was the better kid actor, but you still got to hand it to little Harvey for as young as he was. You got to hand it to him. How old was he, Bert?
That part, I wish I would have looked that up. I want to say, just like by looking at him, he was maybe between 6 and 8.
He did a great job, okay? And he did it with his eyes and stuff, and that's commendable. It's great.
Yeah, again, to me, that's better acting than like words and scripts, because again, that's hard to train.
But I can't say that his performance was better whenever he didn't have any dialogue, and he was old enough to have dialogue. I mean, and you didn't really have any kind of compassion for this. He had a nice little freak out session at the church. That was cool. But I don't know.
Oh yeah, that was his best scene in the entire movie.
It was definitely up there. I thought it was great, but I just and again, I'm not saying he had a bad performance by any means, but freaking Linda Blair knocked it out of the park, man. It's still classic because of her. If they had a horrible, if they had freaking Anakin Skywalker in the air, it wouldn't be what it is today, man.
Oh gosh, I'm glad that he wasn't Damien. But no, just again, Linda Blair's older, so of course she's going to have more experience and more just knowledge of the film industry on how to actually act and all that. Well, freaking Harvey Stevens, he just learned almost one of the hardest things you can learn in acting at his age. Super impressive.
You gotta also go back and say the disturbing shit that Linda Blair had to do in this movie was, for her as a child of her age, was crazy, and she did it well. She did such the crazy shit she was doing. It threw Max von Sydow off of his game. He's in there. She said some crazy ass bullshit. He forgot his damn lines. It was this whole thing. She's doing some crazy shit as a 13-year-old or however old she was, and she's knocking it out of the park. The whole crucifix thing, all that stuff, and that was a lot for a child of her age to subject herself to.
Yeah, and you say she said him, right? I could have sworn you said earlier that they had a different voice actor making her say those things.
For filming during The Exorcist, she would have said the line.
She didn't actually say them.
During filming, she would have, and they would have added in the other voice in post. She would have said the lines.
Gotcha.
But, yeah.
Okay, I got you. But no, I'm sorry, at the end of the day, I guess it's just too hard just because of the age difference between the two.
Damien, they were like, okay, dude, sit over here, look like a freaking creep. But he
didn't
it wasn't anything for a kid to overcome to perform. You know what I mean? As the kid, it wouldn't have been as disturbing as it was for Linda Blair getting thrown around in the bed and shit. And again, I know their age, is a big age difference. They're not going to do the same things. But Linda Blair, one of the best freaking performances from a child in horror movies ever, I think.
Yeah, but as Filthy Dan said, child actors, I'm not counting Linda Blair's age, they're around 6 to 8. Very high risk and very high reward if done correctly, if it turns out great. But it can immediately go batshit crazy, bad for your film. And dude, they hit the damn jackpot with Harvey. That's why I give him more props than Linda Blair. I love Linda Blair. I thought she was excellent for her age. But I felt like mine just was a higher risk reward than Linda Blair.
If I had pea soup, I'd spit it at you right here, right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, good thing I do.
Don't want to fuck up the camera there, but.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So yeah, again, compelling arguments, gentlemen. Very compelling arguments. So let's see what we got here. We kind of went over the acting, and you guys kind of touched on this one a little bit also in a couple regards, but real quick, why is Regan scarier than Damon or vice versa? Like,
I will say that just because Bert, I'll go first here, just because I know you've done the last few rounds, so I don't want to.
You're good.
I want you to have a chance to have a
breather.
response. Yeah. But yeah, I think I kind of mentioned this. I touched on it earlier. I think the scariest thing about Regan is the fact that she is normal. She's human. She's grown up her whole life, normal, sweet girl, and she's overtaken by Pazuzu, and at this point, it's no longer Regan. She ceases to exist, at least while Pazuzu is there, and you have no idea what Pazuzu is from the outside. I mean, it starts off subtle again, like when she pisses on herself and she has a couple little lines, you're going to die up there. And then it kind of turns into a little bit of theater of the mind. Oh, Mr. Burke was killed last night. So he fell out the window. He broke his damn neck, all that. Like, what the fuck happened up there? Like, that's what's going through your head. Theater of the mind. You didn't actually see it. That's great. But then once you get up to it and you see, it's just so disturbing to see, because you've seen how she is normally earlier in the movie. Just sweet girl, very nice, a loving girl, someone that loves her mom, whatever. They have a great relationship. But then once she's possessed, it's a complete 180. Her head's spinning around like she's freaking the crucifix thing. It's so disturbing. And then she's slapping her mom around, freaking throwing freaking dressers at her ass, all kinds of stuff. And that stuff to me, man, just seeing the contrast from earlier in the movie to after the possession takes place is insane, man. It's and the effects they put on her ass, it's bar none at the time, and they still hold up for the most part. I mean, they're dated, sure, but just the way that when she's getting chucked around in her bed and all that, like she controls the freaking movie at that point. Like, there's a long time in The Omen when Damien's not even in there. Like the whole second half of the movie, they're going over to Rome and Damien's still back, and it's just kind of following their story. But in The Exorcist, she controls the show, man. It's her show to run. Like I said earlier, every time you go to her bedroom, you get anxiety. You're like, okay, there's the door. They're about to open it. What the fuck are we going to see here once this door opens? Last time she was freaking using the crucifix and stabbing herself. And then the time after that, there's freaking dressers getting thrown around. Her head was getting spinning around. She's saying crazy shit. Like it creates freaking intrigue. Every time you go to that door, you're like, what are we going to see on the other side of this? Whereas Damien, scary, yes, he's creepy as hell, but he's also missing for a large portion of the movie. So there's that as well.
But yeah, dude, that's hard to argue with. But again, just Damien, when you're born just from pure evil, right at the very start, like you just get that negative aura around Damien just from the very get-go. While all Linda had to do was just mess with a Ouija board. Again, don't mess with them with Ouija boards, people. Nothing good comes from it. But it's just like again, Damien's aura just makes the people around him just do very bad shit happens to him. Like again, Holly the nanny just has a really you're talking about like the queen of chronic neck pains of Sidney Prescott. Holly really too soon? No,
Holly hanging out, dude.
Yeah, she's just hanging. But yeah, just like again, it's like I just expressed earlier, just facial expressions. To me, facial expressions are a lot more scarier than words coming out of your mouth, which I can easily get your defense like, oh yeah, well those words came from a child. Yes, it's scary, but just freaking Damien, just the look of him, just like his evil eyes just immediately make you feel uncomfortable, and he can flip that switch anytime he wants. And just to me, that's very scary coming from a 6 to 8 year old child.
I think I'd like to rebuttal this. I'd like to refute this. I think as far as Damien goes, he is creepy. Don't get me wrong, but I got the sense that he is a small part in everything else going on. He's getting a lot of help from the outside world. He's the scariest part to me of The Omen is the stuff that you really don't see, like the baboon scene at the zoo and stuff like that. And that's not really Damien. He's there and he's causing it, but it's not Damien himself scaring you at this point. It's the baboon's reaction to Damien that's scary. You get the hellhounds. You get Holly when she's hanging out right before that. I mean, it's scary whenever you can hear her yelling at Damien kind of in the distance. And it's like, especially if you know what's about to happen, that's scary But Damien himself at that point, I mean, she's influenced by the Hellhound before that. She's, the Hellhound stares her down. Those guys are scary, yes. I think more so than Damien. I think what's more terrifying about the Omen isn't Damien himself, but all the external things going on. Like when the father, what's his name, gets freaking with the thing. The storm happens and all that. He's got more things going on behind the scenes that's really helping him out. In the fire in the hospital, I thought that was pretty scary. Of course, that's something that happens off scene. You don't see it happen, but I thought that is kind of more scary than Damien. All the other stuff going on, and the way the ending happened, like how there was other influences going on and not just him. So I think if you do a direct apples to apples comparison, Regan's more scary than Damon just when you compare the characters.
Yeah.
And the nanny was scary too, the second one.
Oh yeah, that bitch still fucking scares me to this day, man.
Yeah.
Her ass day one, dude.
Yeah, like and she didn't do anything correctly from the Thorns too. So I would have fired her ass immediately after day one when she didn't give up that dog.
Get my child dressed. Get him ready for church. Church is a 5-year-old will not understand church. Damn it, bitch, get him dressed.
Yeah, I said, bitch, did I stutter?
Like, did I stutter, bitch? Get him dressed.
Or as the Grace Samuel Jackson says, English, motherfucker, do you understand it?
Yeah, I would have, especially after the dog thing, where she's like, "Yeah, dude, I'm bringing some dogs over." Damien said he wants one. He's like, "Nah, dude, we don't need no dogs." She's like, "Well, we're keeping it." I would have fired her ass right there.
Especially him saying like, "Okay, if he does want a dog, I'm picking out the damn dog. You're not doing it. I don't know you."
Yeah, and that almost brings up another thing because we really don't hear Damien talk a whole lot in the film. But the fact that Damien talks to her, not so much to his folks, not so much to the audience. I don't know. That's just something that, I don't know, just kind of crossed my mind right now for like the first time ever.
Well, I think the reason they just have to write that because again of just his age and just his limited use of words, and he probably stumbled a lot too, like forgetting lines or just like not really like paying attention because again, just that effect. Like either it's going to be a high risk, high reward, or just it's going to be a total shit show. So they probably did the best thing and kept him not from saying a much worse and mainly using his facial expressions.
Yeah, because one thing I do know is from behind the scenes is that the director actually did have a pretty hard time, and this is where I'm kind of coming to that kid's defense a little bit. Like he had a hard time getting the right facial expressions from him because you put a camera in front of a little kid's face. What's their first instinct?
Deer in the headlights.
Smile.
Yeah.
And there's some points where it's like, God damn it, boy, stop smiling. You're supposed to be evil. So
yeah, exactly. It's hard to teach that. And freaking Harvey Stevens nailing that shit, to me, gosh, that's super impressive, especially for his age. Because that's like one of the hardest things to learn, because wrestlers have to learn to do that too. Because they can't smile while they lock up. They got to be mean and all that. Again, that's just hard to teach.
Yeah, I mean, he did an excellent job, I think. I mean, I'm not discrediting his performance. I think he was excellent in the movie, for sure. Really creepy.
Yeah, I would punt the shit out of him if I saw him in real life.
While we're talking about Damien, I was going to bring this up either at the beginning or at the end of the show. We'll just do it right now. I think the Omen here, I think it has fantastic potential as like a TV show where you get this slow build where Damien kind of grows a little bit older and like weird shit's going on with him as time progresses, and you just kind of see that like maybe the whole first episode could be character development, and then the end it ends with the baby swap at the beginning of the movie. And that would be kind of cool. And then maybe the nanny comes, or the nanny dies in an episode. The next episode, a new nanny comes, and she's kind of weird. And it's like, I just think it's got there's a lot of story there. And the biggest problem with this movie was not fleshing it all out, I think, to its fullest, just because of time. I mean, you can't make it 3 hours, but if you had the time and like in a TV show, I think Damien could be awesome, man.
Thanks, buddy. Mine would be an excellent TV show along with an excellent movie.
Yeah, I mean, it is an excellent movie, but one's better.
You know. But no, that thing, what you just brought up there actually kind of made me think of something else, because you were talking about how it would have been could make for a good TV show, and that got me thinking about pacing. Why would The Omen be better paced than The Exorcist, and again, vice versa?
I think what you're thinking there, Bert. I think the reason why I thought about that is I think it would be better. The Omen would be better paced as a show because you have so much going on. Like this, your main character is an ambassador. Okay, there's a lot of intrigue there. Just that on its own, that needs to be fleshed out. He's a very powerful man over in London. He's like, this needs to be fleshed out. The whole idea, like this whole baby swap thing happens like in the first 30 seconds of the movie. Like that should be a little bit, you should get to know the characters first before this happens. There should be a moment where they're like a little bit where it's fleshed out, where it's like, oh yeah, they've been trying to have kids for years. They finally have one. Oh yeah, it's happy. Everything's good. Your freaking child dies at birth. Oh shit. Let's swap them out with, oh yeah, here we go. Like just kind of building that up. And then, because that would be a good character moment between Robert and the wife. Just kind of getting that experience with them, how desperate they were for a child, kind of like Brightburn at the beginning, where they have a little bit of that going on. And you get that, and then you kind of, because you have the element of age as well, because he's born. You could take the time to see him age a little bit, to see weird things kind of start to happen, to see him kind of start to evolve into the son of the devil from a young age, from birth, essentially. I think that would be good. And then you can kind of play into, again, father's a really powerful guy. You can kind of see, again, you got a lot of things going on with the nannies being manipulated, being freaking hanging out, Holly hanging out. And then the new nanny coming aboard. You got the hellhounds. There's so much going on. And then the whole second half of the movie, I think in The Omen, I think the first half is better than the second half when they start doing the research and go in the room and all that. I think the stuff's cool, but to me, it's kind of slow. It slows down a little bit after they leave, because I'm really into the Damien stuff. And then they go to Rome and do their own thing, which is cool. But that stuff could be fleshed out nicely in a TV show, I think. And then, even after the end, when he's living with the freaking president, you could go on to that as well. But that's, just talking about the first one, I think you have potential there. Like maybe while they're going out doing the research in Rome, you can cut back to Damien with the mom at the house doing more creepy ass shit, like the stuff we want to see. So I think it's got potential. The Exorcist, I think, is more of a contained story, and it's more. I mean, you're not talking the son of the devil here; you're talking another demon, and I think it does a good job of starting things out and then ending it for the most part.
Okay, I'm actually going to give your movie a lot of credit here. This is just a hard one for me to defend, my movie in, because The Exorcist is so perfectly, almost close to perfection when it comes to pacing. The only real pacing issue I have was just one of my few problems with The Exorcist is just that first third of the movie.
Sure.
Just to me, it got really slow. Like I understand they were trying to do a slow burn, but they were really doing it slow. But then once shit hit the fan, it like the pacing of it just goes on like near perfection. So like I can't hate on it because it's again very close to perfection. But with The Omen, what their pacing strategy was okay, we're going to start here and we're going to go here. Then we're going to bring you back down here. Then we're going to go here, bring you back down here, and and vice versa. And to me, that's good versus just like here, and we're going to keep it here, or low. We're going to go low here. Like, and I feel like The Omen, I thought it was paced well done too. Like, I agree with you. The second act of it, it got slower than the first half of it, so that was a little bit of an issue. But I thought for the most part, The Omen did a good job with its pacing.
It did. I got a note here. Like, The Exorcist starts slow and freaking ends. Once shit hits the fan, it's like nonstop. You can't take your eyes off the screen. And then The Omen's kind of, I'm more intrigued at the beginning, and then I kind of lose interest there later in the movie, just personally. And I mean, I love the freaking ending of it. I think the ending's fantastic, but it drags a little bit there in Rome and stuff after the cemetery scene. But overall, long story short, to answer your question, The Omen takes place over several years. You have the aging of Damien, whereas The Exorcist is one kind of concise time period. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I figured that one was going to be a pretty tough question too, and it kind of came out of nowhere. But let's see. This is an interesting one. Who do you think sold their parent like? Yeah, fuck. I'm trying to think how to word this question because this could be two different questions, but we'll go with option one for this. Who was the better mother? Who played the mother better? Regan's mom or Damien's mom?
Shit. I'm giving Brad. You go first because again, like I can't defend that hardly just because honestly, I really don't like my mother in my movie.
Yeah,
like she wasn't the best. But like no contest. Like this is definitely like I'll take the dad victory easy, but the mother victory goes to the
She doesn't have a dad, damn it.
Well, whose fault is that?
I was about to
it's gotta go.
If needed, we could. I was going to say, too, if needed, we could switch it. If it creates for a better argument, we could do why is Regan's mom better than Damien's dad?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, say that I could at least defend a little bit.
Seeing how Gregory Peck does do more than Lee Remick does in that film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's go that route.
Yeah, go ahead, Brad.
I think Chris does a... Again, it all comes out to her having an opportunity for her character to be fleshed out earlier in the movie. Before things hit the fan, things are going kind of normal. You get a little bit of that in The Omen with Robert and whatnot when they're walking out there. They got Damien, they got the little horse they're dragging around. Like you get a little bit of that, but it's more of like a montage. Like you get a montage of pictures, and the normalcy period of the movie is pretty much it's over in a few seconds. Whereas you get a pretty nice drawn out session of with the mother and Regan together before things hit the fan. And then you kind of see that slow descent into craziness. Like when she starts to kind of feel a little sick, they take her to the doctor and she's getting her, her vitals taken and getting the biopsy and all that. And the mother's there for all that. And you kind of see her trying to figure out what the hell's going on with Regan. And I think that's kind of cool. You get to see, her getting convinced that this is a religious thing, this is a demon thing, this is where an exorcism needs to take place, as opposed to medical issues. Like you get to see all that, and yeah, I mean she's a good kid. Like she's a single mother, and that kind of adds a little bit of intrigue too. Like she's trying to do everything for her daughter. She's got to take care of her, she's got to pay the bills, she's got to do everything. That just adds a little bit of intrigue to the character, and I don't know, she's just more of a and you see her dealing with Regan more, I think, than you see the father in The Omen dealing with Damien. Like, because like I said earlier, a lot of the movie in The Omen, he's off in Rome doing his own investigative research, which is nice. It's a good, it's fine. It's a different change of pace, but the mother, Chris, in The Exorcist, you see a lot of direct interactions between her and Regan, and you can see the freaking you can see how terrified she is throughout the movie, man. When she's getting slapped around and bookcases are falling on her and she's bleeding, and like she gets Regan's freaking blood all over, and it's disturbing, man. Like it is. Whereas the father in The Omen doesn't really have. There's never really a point where he's terrified, I don't think. I mean, I may be wrong, but he's got some great moments where he's duking it out with Damien and dragging his ass and duking it out with the freaking, the nanny there at the end. Like, it's all good stuff, but you never see the terror in his eyes.
Yeah, Mrs. Blaylock. I don't know why I was just zoning out on that, but the second nanny is Mrs. Blaylock.
It's a good name for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But with Robert, like again, I really have no negatives towards your mother, Brad. But I feel like you're just not giving my for Robert Thorne just where credit's due. Like, yeah, he was strict and stern. He probably didn't show his love so much for Damien, but at the end of the day, he still cared for him, whether it was his actual son or not. Like, he still raised him. He still provided for him. And even right before he had to actually kill him, he really didn't want to. Like, he almost just said, "Screw it, I'm not doing this. Like, I know he's evil, but damn it, I raised him. I provided for him. Me and Kathy both gave him so much love, like, and just to do that when you knew that something wasn't right with him, that takes a lot of heart for a parent." And for Thorne just to travel the world to solve the problem, and just to spend time away from Damien, which I know that's not the best parenting, but it's just sometimes you gotta make great sacrifices in order to provide for your child, and that's what Robert did by trying to solve the answers in like the poem and all that to save him. Even though at the end of the day he still had to kill him, but he just. Man, like like Robert was a good dad. Like I know that a lot of people are not going to agree with me, but I just really feel like he is a good dad.
I think he was good. He was a good character, and obviously he had to be because he carried the movie. Like he was the character of the movie. He was the main character. But one of my biggest negatives of The Omen is I would have liked to seen his relationship fleshed out a little bit more with Damien, as opposed to just being a couple pictures. I would have liked to seen more of an emotional connection with Damien. And closer to the beginning of the movie, where that way when this shit's happening at the end and he has to kill him or try to kill him, you'd be
like more invested.
Yeah, you're feeling his despair, and you're feeling sad for him, even though he's the son of the devil. You're like, oh, he's got to kill his son. How much he loves him is crazy. I would have liked to seen that fleshed out a little bit more, but as a character, I think he did a fine job of carrying the movie overall.
Yeah, and last thing I was just throwing there, I just felt like I'm kind of like the first Chucky movie. Like I don't think the directors and all that knew what they had in Damien with Harvey Stevens. So that's probably why they didn't like put them together as much, because they were just trying to really get involved with more of the poet than they are with the actual child. And I bet if they had to do it all over again, they would easily made that easy fix and putting that connection with Robert, with Damien. So you could create that more impactful ending. But I just feel like that's more of a director mistake than an actual like on-screen mistake.
Yeah, I would have liked to seen it kind of like the relationship with Gage and his dad in Pet Sematary. Like,
right.
I would have liked to see, because at the end of the movie, when he brings Gage back and he has to kill him, like, that's sad. It's, I don't know. I think there was potential there for a better relationship and more of an emotional connection. But yeah, you hit it too. He was solid.
I was compelling arguments again, gentlemen. Fucking all night. You guys are making it hard for me to decide who's got the winning arguments here. And again, trying to put my biases aside on this one, but anyway, musically, which film had the better score?
I knew this question was coming, and my first reaction is they're equal. But to me, what's more scarier is just like kind of like combining that religious music with my movie. Because again, religious movie is supposed to ease your mind and just make you feel relaxed. But then when they add just a dark tone to it, like the and the chanting and all that, and I've been for the longest time, I try to figure out where that particular score came from. And then when they played it at the opening intro with the Omen, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so creepy. Right even before the movie played, when they played that sound, that music instantly made me oh, this is going to be creepy shit right here. and I feel like they continued it. They didn't steer away from it. They knew that this was scary, and they kept on enhancing it throughout throughout the whole entire movie, and I feel like my movie really nailed it. Like Brad's only had that one good one when the second father came to the house towards the third act. That's like one of the most famous noises in all of the horror genre. But that's all really the Exorcist had. Mine had like but like in different verses and in the chanting of like the religious choirs and all that. We were just different, like different tones and all that throughout the entire movie.
Yeah. Sorry, I had another tap. But anyway, yeah, the chorus music there, the choir music, sorry, in the Omen is terrifying. When they pull it up, when shit, they always pulled up loud, like freaking crescendo shit when shit starts hitting the fan. Mm-hmm. And it's big, man. Like it's important. It's integral to that movie, man. But I do think the Exorcist theme is far more classic, I guess at this point you could say, far more recognizable. You could play that song if you go out to the streets and you start playing the two songs, like, and asking, you know, where did this come from? You're going to get more correct answers with the Exorcist theme, I think, for sure. I think it's it's instantly recognizable. It's really creepy. It's really eerie. I wish they would have played it a little bit more or had more songs to go with it throughout the movie. But that one theme really, to me, seals the deal for me, man.
Well, which one gets under your skin more, though?
Oh, easily my movie, just because again, like religious music is supposed to be peaceful and uplifting, but shoot, the Omen turned that son of a bitch way at the other end of it, made it dark, creepy, and just super uncomfortable. While the Exorcist, yeah, it's creepy, but it doesn't like borrow, like it's just creative music. Mine is they borrowed from the choir type religious music and made it evil.
Yeah, I think if I had to pick which one, I would have to say like the Exorcist one is more iconic, but I will say the ones in the Omen is more creepy. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I have to.
Yeah, because your movie really didn't need like music for the creepy atmosphere, because like it created that all on its own.
That it did. It did.
I almost feel like The Exorcist could have gone without music, and it could have been one of those movies that I think would have been effective without a score.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because even though that song is so iconic, I still can't it doesn't really identify with me. Like, you know, you can think of the Halloween soundtrack and as soon as you hear a track, you can know exactly where you're at in the movie, and you kind of get that. I mean, you know where you're at in the Exorcist movie, but it's not as much of a character in the movie that some soundtracks are. As I think in the Omen, that music, that choir music, is a character of the movie, whereas the Exorcist movie is just a little bit of icing on the cake.
It's that surprise cameo from a very highly acclaimed person.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, that's another one that's going to be tricky to mark here. Let's see. So, which film is more revisitable? Why is your film going to be the easier one to go back to from this point?
That is a good question. Like that's a tough question, just because for both of our movies, it's like we're so dark, like we play with such a dark tone with the religious side of it, that it's really hard to go back to movies like that because of how uncomfortable and just the like topics they challenge. Like, hey, what can we do to really make people uncomfortable? Oh, let's mess with religion, because you know that's a touchy subject for everybody. So honestly, I say it's really equal. Like, I know we're supposed to go against each other, but I really consider it a very equal thing to it.
Yeah, and we were talking about this the other day. We did a Beers with the Bros episode just comparing 70s to 80s horror, and we're talking about how more rewatchable things were in the 80s than the 70s just because of how dark they were. And both of these follow in that category of just being dark and just not pleasant to, I mean, as good as the movies are, not pleasant to experience because of how freaking dark it is. But Either way, I mean, if I had to make a case for my movie, I would say that for The Exorcist, I would say that it's got more. I think it's got a little bit more excitement to it. Like once it is a little bit slow. If you're going to rewatch it, like if you watch it today and then you want to watch it again tomorrow, the first half's going to drag a little bit. But once things start hitting the fan, like you're invested in it, it's easy to watch that stuff just because it's exciting for a horror movie for what you're getting. There's a little bit more going on with the effects and things like that. Whereas The Omen there's a little bit more theater of the mind at times. I mean, when you get to the scary moments, again, it's not hitting you in the face, is what I mean. I guess you get the zoo scene, you get freaking a Holly hanging out scene, and some stuff at the end.
What the hell?
But a lot of that stuff is The Exorcist has more moments where it's at least a little bit more, more intense, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that's a tough one too. I was contemplating whether or not I would ask that, let alone write that one down. But it's like, let's see where they stand on this one.
Yeah, it's like that was a good idea to introduce, but again, like as we discussed the other day, just the 70s are always hard movies to go back to watch because of how dark the tone and the meaning of their message of those films are.
Right. Yeah, see that's why that one was weird for me, because like I enjoy the 70s cinema a lot, and I can go back to 70s films more than others can.
Mm-hmm.
So for that reason, I'm like, yeah, I think they could answer that one with no problem.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like fuck you for asking that one, Dan. But,
they're like, I think they're superior movies than a lot of stuff you get in the 80s. But again, they're so dark. There's nothing to break the tension. That it's for rewatch. Like it's like you can only handle it every so often, almost.
Mm-hmm. Like I revisit 80s like almost like on a daily. Like a weekly occurrence, while the darker tone of the 70s, like those are like once every couple of months. Like I watch 170s like today, and I bet you like a couple of months later, like 2 or 3, I'll watch another 70s movie.
You will never see enough 70s movies if you watch them at that rate.
See, yeah, I know. Like on my Letterboxd, I only got like 10. Like I can do a top 10 after watching The Omen. I can do a top 10 for 70s, but I need to expand that horizon. Again, it's kind of hard because again, I'm not one of those fans of going and tackling those darker tones.
Those are 10 damn good movies, though.
Oh no, I tell you, they are 10 damn good movies.
Oh yeah. So here's another one. Now, like leaving the first and second acts out of both of these, if you take the third act, climax, and ending, just the whole third act with the climax and the ending, why is your film the superior film?
Easy peasy. Whose turn is to go first?
I'll go first. Or no, you're the moderator. You tell us who goes first.
Because y'all both jumped the gun here, let me flip this coin real quick. Heads, it says Brad.
All right, you got it, pal.
Why does Brad get any heads? He ain't the head of the table.
There was no coin. There was no coin. I had to sell the illusion.
I bet it was a heads coin.
I harped on it a little bit earlier. I think the Omens. I like the first half more of the Omen than the second half. I think the more compelling stuff is the stuff you get with Damien in the house while everybody's together. And then once you kind of separate the wife and Damien, and then you take, dude, okay, first off, when the wife and Damien are at the house alone, I think this is not quite the third act, but I gotta bring this up at some point. When she does the little freaking fall, the cliffhanger freaking scene where she's falling that did not date very well at all, dude. It's like 4 feet and she freaking died almost. But anyway, we'll get beyond that. I just noticed that today. I thought it was kind of funny. They oversold the freaking, I'm slipping. It's like cliffhanger, dude. It's like she's falling. It's like, oh, no, don't let me go. She should have just fallen off the ladder. That would have been much better. But anyway.
I was hoping that would come up too, though.
Anyway, but yeah, anyway, in a nutshell, essentially, I said it earlier, the third act, like The Exorcist builds and builds and builds. It ends freaking climax. Like it's the whole third act's fantastic. When Father Karras takes freaking Pazuzu away from Regan and freaking offs himself out the window. Great stuff, man. Fantastic ending. It's a little bit depressing, but at the same time, the good guys won for now. But again, we harping back earlier, the good versus evil fight goes on forever. It's not going to go away. But that's good. And then that's when you get the exorcism itself. That's what the whole thing's building up to. Whereas in the Omen, it's more, I like the stuff at the beginning more. And then after they leave the cemetery with the dogs, like things get really kind of slow there for a minute. They go see your boy somewhere, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you got to look for the 666. You got to scalp him." And he goes, which was a good scene. But I will say the ending, the last part of the Omen, was fantastic. I love the way that the bad guys won this one, and that whole thing was awesome. I loved that. But I do not think the president of the United States would attend this funeral of a guy, ambassador or not, who just tried to kill his son and got killed by the cops. I just don't see that happen.
Bad publicity. That's because this film takes place, or was it? Yeah, I think it would take place too, but it was released in an election year. That's not going to do his numbers very good.
No, absolutely not. He's not going to go, and he's not going to. Yeah, maybe he adopts the kid, maybe. But he's not going to show up at the funeral of the guy and hang out a little bit longer for a dude that just freaking tried to kill his kid and killed his nanny and all this shit. But again, that's not what actually happened. But from his point of view, it is. It's just not going to happen. But overall, I love the ending of The Omen. I thought it was fantastic. But the overall third act, I give to The Exorcist.
Yeah, and again, that's hard because that third act, The Exorcist, it's just really hard to top. But I feel like the Omen did a really damn close, good job to do it. Yeah, I agree with you. The second half of the movie was slower than I would like it to be. But that's where I felt like we got our most brutal, unsettling moments of the movie as well, with the glass chopping the reporter's head off. Yeah, because I was not expecting that. I was like, oh shit, and then that. With that, then of course things picked up when Robert came home because he knew what he had to do was get Damien out of the house. How is he going to get past the dog? How is he going to get past Mrs. Blaylock? Just a lot of questions that you have absolutely no idea how it was going to play out. While kind of like with The Exorcist, you kind of know that they were going to complete the exorcism. But again, yours had cause and consequences and all that. Of saving that girl, and mine did too. What would come of Thorne if he actually successfully killed the child? What would that do with his him being an ambassador? But what I just love in movies sometimes, if they just pull it off right, I love when the bad guy wins. And Damien winning was a nice touch with that movie because for a movie about the devil, of course you gotta have the devil win. It just beats the purpose of all the 666s, the movie being called The Omen and all that. That just beats the purpose. So they went with the uncomfortable decision of the child winning,
which was fantastic, man. That was a great decision.
Fantastic choice.
That was back when they had the balls to freaking let the bad guys win from time to time, and it paid off.
Yeah, I will nitpick at your ending, Brad, with The Exorcist. After that whole exorcism was over, they really should have ended the scene with the picture on the father. Was it Karras?
Karras.
Yeah, Karras. Yeah. At the stairs, bleeding out and all that, and with the squeezing of the hand. That to me should have been the last shot in the movie. Versus just whatever the hell we got in those last 5 minutes.
I love the fact that Karras was dead as fuck, dude, and that guy comes running up to him. Do you want to make a confession?
I was like, what the hell is that all about? He's dead. And then I saw him doing the squeeze of the hell. I'm like, how the hell did he survive that?
I know. Initially, I was like, it was kind of funny, and then it got better though with the hand thing. But
but the last 5 minutes, I really didn't need to know hey, Linda's okay and all that. I kind of assumed she was already okay because they got the damn spirit out of her.
It gives you that closure. It gives you a little bit of happiness to end the movie on because it's such a dark movie, and it gives you a little bit of a happy ending, even though the ending of The Exorcism was batshit crazy. Both of the fathers died. This gives you a little bit of something nice to end on, which I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, and then Damien's going to be president in 2020.
Yeah.
No, just
obviously the Exorcist is a slow burn, but every bit of that pays off in the third act. It all comes to that. It's all for full circle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, both third acts of both movies were just fantastic.
That freaking head chop scene in The Omen, dude, that was great.
Dude, I was not expecting that. I'm like, what the hell?
Okay.
Like, he ain't gonna be the head of the table.
He was never going to be the head of a major news organization. That's what he meant. But real quick side note, because I know that The Exorcist was adapted from a novel. I was checking to see if The Omen was, but I got distracted by the fact that the music was done by Jerry Goldsmith in The Omen, and it was directed by Richard Donner. How in the fuck? I actually watched a mini documentary on the Donner Party today. We were talking about The Shining. I was listening to a Donner Party documentary, but no. How the fuck did I overlook the fact that this was a Donner film?
It's just one of those things. Like you see it. I assume you maybe saw it early on, and it's like you didn't really pay attention to directors at that point. You just kept watching, and then now that you're doing this kind of thing, you're like, I'm looking at directors now, and you're like, oh shit, yeah. I see that happens to me a lot. That's why.
Yeah, Richard Donner, freaking I'm just amazed. Like even just looking at it right now, all the work he did, and then he pulled off such a creepy tone with The Omen. Like it just astounds me. Like look at all this great work that he's done. The Goonies, the Lethal Weapon franchise, Brad's new Christmas movies that he really enjoys, Scrooged, and freaking Superman of all movies. Like, and for him to tackle a horror movie like this in just a dark tone, Richard did a fantastic job.
It truly is one of those things that I don't know, you don't really think about it, but when you do it, it really does kind of build a bit of a perspective and just makes you think. But I don't know, that's got me sidetracked. I think I have one or two more questions for you, gentlemen.
Go right ahead.
Now we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, mostly in terms of The Exorcist. But why, Brad, would you say that the effects that we get in The Exorcist are better than the bit of kill effects that we get in The Omen? Now, because both films use special effects, but they use them to different extents.
Yeah.
Tell me why Your Guys' film is the winner.
I would just say because it's it plays a more important role in The Exorcist. You got to see this little girl getting transformed into a damn demon, and her head getting spun around, the 360 turn, just the way her face looks. The way that it kind of shows her face kind of as Bazools there at the end, towards the end, all that stuff. It's an important role to see that in the transformation. Whereas in The Omen, they have good effects, but it's very limited. You have the dude getting his head chopped off, which is great. Like his head was spinning around. Love that. But it's a really quick thing. It just happens, like that, and it's over. Whereas The Exorcist, it's more drawn out. And it has to be because it's such an important part of the movie. You see a lot of Regan after she's been transformed to Pazuzu. She's a character. Like the Pazuzu possessed Regan is a character of the movie, probably more so than the original Regan was. So yeah, I mean, and those were fantastic effects when she's getting chucked around in the bed. Even though the apparatus didn't work too well in real life, it pays off on screen. Like it looks good when her bed's floating up in the air. All that stuff is great. And at the end of the day, it's on screen longer. Whereas our boy's head, it was a good effect, but again, it was gone. We don't know how good the head actually looked because it was just spinning around for a second. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think it's
impalement too, though. There's also
which one?
When the priest gets impaled
That was a badass. Yeah, that was good too. But I think again, that was still pretty quick. Like it was there, but it was just one shot, one little segment. Whereas Regan is an actual character, and her transformation is just freaking fantastic. It's still, I mean, even today, it holds up.
Mm-hmm. But you gotta remember, and like with like the first big thing I can just say about this is just the budget difference. Like we didn't have like a lot of the budget to pull off like some of the stuff that your movie did. But really, your movie didn't really need to dive into kills and all that either. Just because its possessions are really not kills. It's more about creating that creepy atmosphere and the creepy look, which The Exorcist with Linda Blair nailed the look and all that. But again, with the budget, so they could. I will easily say your movie does not do very well for one particular scene with Blu-ray and the HD and the 4K and all that. Is when she got lifted up in the air. I thought for the longest time, how the hell did they do that? And then I actually saw the damn wire in that clear picture. So yeah, that's
not supposed to happen. You're supposed to see this on VHS.
I know, and actually, I'll do a quick shout out, like with Destiny. I think she pointed this out that it's better to experience 80s and 70s movies on VHS, where like VHS is like are not as clear and they're just as dark, so you will have no idea how a lot of the stuff they pull off. Like you don't see the wires, you don't see the effects, and they're like, why might? Yeah, and and Brad keeps on talking about the head chop thing of why it was so quick and the pole stabbing. Why it was so quick is because we probably, again, with the budget, we didn't have a lot to go with to make it look cool. So that's why we sped it up so we can hide a flaw.
Because the Exorcist, again, the Exorcist had another 10 million in its corner than the Omen did.
Yeah, because imagine if we had that 10 million, we could have dragged out those kills too.
Well, I don't think they needed to be dragged out. The only reason I say I thought that the effects were fine in the Omen. I'm just saying I would choose the Exorcist one because it was more important to the story, and that's why I would go that route. I don't think the Omen effects are bad. It's more of a little bit of icing on your cake as opposed to being a character of the movie or being seeing that transformation of a young girl to a demon.
Right.
Absolutely. And so this is where y'all aren't getting the same question here.
Okay.
Brad, do you feel that The Exorcist tends to be a bit overrated? And Brett, do you feel that The Omen tends to be a bit underrated?
Good question.
Very good question, because like I thought about that for both too. Like I've heard both cases for both. But yeah, I would easily say see with the stats for the Rotten Tomatoes score earlier, like being in the 80s, a lot of people you can easily make a case of why it's underrated because it's really not mentioned a whole lot, even though the score is there. Like IMDb, I think gave it a 7.5 according to the Tale of the Tapes, and that's pretty good score for IMDb. And like in the 80s, for a horror movie, rare, like that's rare for a horror movie to get, and with the Omen not being mentioned as much as it should, so I easily go with the claim of my movie is really definitely underrated.
I can agree with that, but I don't think The Exorcist is overrated, because I think you gotta put yourself, like, maybe now if you look at it, sure, okay, it's definitely not the scariest movie of all time, and that's how it's revered, but you put yourself in the shoes of somebody in 1973. Like this absolutely changed cinema. It changed the aspect of the horror movie. Nobody's ever seen anything like this at this point when it comes out. It's so disturbing and so vile. Like it's nobody. People were passing out in theaters and shit. Like it changed the game. Like it set up. Honestly, The Omen came maybe from The Exorcist. It came 3 years later.
3 years later. So
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's overrated for that very reason. That if you were to see this in 1973, it would have absolutely freaking shooken you to your core, and would have been unlike anything you've ever seen. And even now, like it's not like everybody says this movie's perfect. Everybody pretty much acknowledges the fact that it's a slow movie. It takes some time to build up, and it's got some issues here and there, but yeah, I mean, I think it deserves the credit that it gets for doing what it did to the horror genre, for sure, because it was revolutionary at the time.
Yeah, and that's just the perfect word for your movie. It's revolutionary, and it definitely changed the game for the horror genre to give like my movie, The Omen, the opportunity that it did get.
Yeah, and I do think The Omen is a little underrated because nobody really talks about it. I mean, it is obviously it's a classic. People talk about it, but nobody talks about it to the extent that it probably should be talked about.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of the blame due to like the second and the third one, like just making it a franchise. I feel like it should just been a one-off movie.
Yeah, it would have been really good with that ending, ambiguous ending like that.
Same thing with The Exorcist. It really didn't need like a 2, 3, and all that. Even though 3 is good, like from what I hear is good. I plan on checking out that movie very soon. But our movies really didn't need to become franchises. They should have been one-off movies.
Right, you are, Ted.
He calls me Ted.
But no, that last thing you said there, Bert, brings up another question I was sitting on. And real quick, I want to preface this with: have you guys seen the sequels to either one of these?
I have not.
I have not. Like the only one I really just am interested in is The Exorcist 3 because I heard even though actually that's not true because the remake of The Omen, I actually been hearing that it is worth the watch. Like it's probably not as good as the original from what I hear, but it's still like you at least need to check it out. And the same can be said about The Exorcist 3, especially with I always know about that, like one of the best jump scares of all time.
So with that in mind, you halfway answered the follow-up question I had there, which was now as both films were eventually made into franchises, which one would you be more invested in watching the sequels for, to see where the respective stories go?
I would say mine, just because Damien's story at the end of my movie is not technically over, while The Exorcist, that story's over.
Yep, I agree. I do agree with that because I think The Exorcist is more of a contained story. I don't think there was any need for Exorcist to have sequels. The Omen, it left off with potential for sure. And I don't know how the sequels are, if they're any good. I need to check them out. I have them all, so I probably will check them out at some point. But yeah, and that's why I was kind of digging into that TV show thing. I think there's a lot of potential for the story.
All right. So deciding who won here is really impossible. Again, I think you guys both really provided compelling arguments to why either film is the better one here, and you really got me at a 50-50 mark here. And if it's okay with you guys, I'd say we would leave it up to the fine, lovely viewers out there to decide who won this one, because
I think that would be fair.
At this moment, I really can't pick. I mean, because for me, I know from a technical standpoint, The Exorcist sure is the better movie, but I am more of an Omen fan. So, and that's kind of one thing I was trying to, I mean, not just accept, but kind of look past. But I mean, the arguments that you gentlemen provided really kind of helped cement that factor, especially for me as mediator here. It's like, well, fuck, they proved the point that I was trying to put aside here. But it definitely it's definitely a good 50-50 here. I mean, the answer could change on any given day which film I'd say was the winner.
Mm-hmm. And that's fair. But
one thing I got to throw in, I was going to mention it earlier during cinematography, but I didn't.
I said, no, it's over.
Well, I know it's over, but one thing I got to throw. I was saving it for later, and it didn't happen. But I got to throw in those damn subliminal shots of Pazuzu throughout The Exorcist, freaking popping up. Those split-second images, and
Damn vampire.
What's that?
Pazuzu looked like a damn vampire.
Yeah, dude, it was scary as fuck. And I still, to this day, I don't ever see movies doing that kind of thing, and it was very effective, I thought.
Oh, wait till you see the movie I decide to make one day.
Yes, can't wait.
Only it's not going to be Pazuzu images thrown in there. It's going to be for even more of a split second. It'll be well, you'll see. You'll see when it corrupts the minds of generations to come.
It better be Captain Spaulding holding up his chicken, dude.
Just some like chicken fried.
Maybe a picture of me smiling with my Captain Howdy. a really high angle shot. Hey, like did he just put that in the movie? I mean, if you don't see it, you can't catch it with your naked eye. So no, I didn't throw it in there. Just get lost in the fold of editing.
Oh man, but no, gentlemen, is there anything else we want to tackle real quickly before we let the viewers decide on who wins in the comment section?
I think most of my notes were.
Yeah,
okay.
I got like all the points I wanted to get out there.
We got cliffhanger, but 4 feet version of that, and yeah, I think we're good, man. I think I got everything out that I needed to get out.
Yeah. All right, so Josh, go ahead, Dan.
I came here with about 10 questions for you guys and wound up asking about 15, 16 questions. I'd say this one.
Hey, that's a slash it out record.
There's definitely a lot of questioning here for sure.
I know, but those questions need to be addressed throughout this debate or friendly debate. So, Dan, you did an amazing job, and we appreciate you being our special guest moderator. Brett, should I take us home?
Yeah, well, before you do, I want to ask Dan if he's got anything that he's worth sharing coming up on his channel.
Oh, how rude of me! Sorry, I treat Denver fans very badly. So, Dan, what is coming up on your channel?
Well, depending on when this is going to be airing, at the time of this recording, my February docket as of now is I have a new a little mini series that I have just announced on the Facebooks. That's the Feb Romero, which is going to be a four installments of George A. Romero.
Nice.
It was originally going to be reviews, but it seems like they're going to be watch parties. On the 4th of February, excuse me, we're going to be watching Night of the Living Dead over on my channel with Robbie Sobel. Y'all are not going to want to miss that.
Yeah, Robbie's a good dude, so that's going to be fun.
Right, I kind of have him in talks to try and get that whole thing, and maybe possibly this is not set in stone, but maybe have Feb Romero be an annual thing where we'll just team up and do that. It, like I said, that's in the works. Possibility. Not saying it is, but we'll see where that goes. But the next day is Metal Thrashing Madness episode 2. Stream Demons episode 4 is the Saturday. Sunday will be Hot Tub Time Machine Watch Party with Chris Snyder over at House of the Living Dead. No longer called Chris Snyder, folks. Mm-hmm. From there, it's going to be played by ear. I know the next episode of In the Flesh with Filthy Dan is going to be episode 7 Watch Party. So y'all aren't going to miss that either.
Okay.
But otherwise, everything else is being played relatively by ear.
Okay, and we're so looking forward to your upcoming content. So, guys, in the description down below, we're going to have every way possible to keep up with the Filthy One himself and see what kind of filthy activities he has in store for you guys. And guys, Filthy Dan has an amazing channel, so we need to support him. Absolutely, we do. We've been a big fan of your channel, and we appreciate you being a special guest moderator.
And
Yeah, dude.
I thank you guys for bringing me on for this. But it was actually this series that really got me started to watch you guys. Like, just paying attention to some of the stuff you're doing. Like, I kind of like these guys, but when you started Slash It Out, it's like, okay, I hit the sub, but now it's time to hit the bell.
Yeah, ding, ding, ding. Yeah, and I'll get to that famous line here in a bit. And I'll go ahead and let the cat out of the bag too. Filthy Dan, for our Star Wars Saturdays watch parties, when we get to it, we don't know yet. Filthy Dan is being tasked with the very important responsibility of Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Filthy Dan's a big fan of that movie, and everybody was dying to get that movie, but the Filthy One wanted to do it, and we are going to give him the keys to that. So, and we are looking forward to it, and we will hopefully announce that date soon.
I persevered. I cut 15 people in line for that spot.
I'm pretty sure by cutting you mean you got the machete somewhere in the background.
It's literally at arm's length from me.
Exactly. And before I say anything, I better close this out because I just don't want things to get filthy.
I'd say, though, the way I cut everyone was like that 80-year-old at a deli.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't see you there. I'm just going to make my way to the front. That's how I did that.
Hey, whatever it takes to get Empire Strikes Back. So, ladies and gentlemen, what did you all think about this Slash It Out episode? Are you on Brad's side over here and going with The Exorcist as the best film? Or should you go with yours truly on The Omen and let the underdog win? Let us know in that comment section down below, and let's just get that discussion rolling and just to let us know and to keep our mind at ease on who won this fair and square.
Right you are, and if you want to help us find the good reels, you can do so by finding us on Facebook, Instagram, Letterboxd, Twitter, Snapchat, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Those links will be down in there in the description with Filthy Dan stuff as well.
Yes, and that, of course, this will be a podcast episode too for Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So stay tuned for when those episodes drop. And of course, if you want to follow us along too, be sure to like this video, subscribe, and share. Of course, that really helps out with our channel. And of course, ring that bell, ding, 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 so you know when the next video's up and running. And actually, I remembered one thing because this is a little bit of slow talks, but you got some raps on the 100th sub. Well, there are talks about something special about hitting 200 subs, so you better hit that subscribe button below and share it so you can see that special surprise coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And we will.
Would you sub them?
Oh.
Would you sub them?
I subbed them.
I'd sub
okay,
them hard.
Greg, get us out of here.
Push it in the basket.
We will. We will. See you guys soon.
Stay filthy.
See you guys.